The time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and here's the news edited by Anjana Dodamgoda and read by Rumesh Piris. The headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe addresses the UN General Assembly. The IMF chief expresses satisfaction over Sri Lanka's economic progress so far. The Minister of Agriculture warns licenses will be revoked if substandard pesticides are sold. India provides 4.9 billion rupees for the modernization of railway signalling system from Maho to Anuradhapura. The Parliament resolution approves to suspend Putlam District Member of Parliament from Parliament committees. A message on Nipah virus issued from the Sri Lankan health authorities. Colombo International Book Fair kicks off at the BMICH. And in news overseas, satellite images show increased activity at nuclear test sites in Russia, China and the US. And in sports, the ICC announced the match schedule of Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup 2024. And now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe addressed the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York this afternoon, recalling that Sri Lanka, with multiple global crises, faced the most challenging period last year, socially, economically and politically. President Wickremesinghe expressed the crisis had a most devastating impact on the people, even threatening the democratic tradition and bringing the parliament to a halt. Addressing the UNGA 78, the head of state pledged to lead Sri Lanka towards sustainable growth, ensuring peace and prosperity for all, with the support of both the nation and the international community. The President further said it is his intention to lead the country towards sustainable and stable recovery and growth, which will benefit all segments of Sri Lankan society in all parts of the country, ensuring a future of peace, prosperity and reconciliation for present and future generations of women and men. Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira said the licenses of the companies that supply substandard pesticides will be revoked and those companies will be blacklisted. The minister also said that if the quality of pesticides supplied to farmers by any company is inferior, the law will be strictly enforced against those companies. The minister took this measure considering a complaint submitted by the district presidents of Sri Lanka National Farmers Organizations to the Minister of Agriculture. Farmer representatives told the Minister of Agriculture that pesticides brought at high prices from some companies fail to give proper results in weed control and insect control due to their substandard quality. The Parliament has approved a resolution to prevent Putlam District Member of Parliament Ali Sabri Rahim from representing in committees of Parliament. The resolution presented by the opposition was passed during today's Parliament sitting. Parliamentarian Ali Sabri Rahim has been referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges of Parliament for an investigation, and the resolution has proposed that the MP should not represent the committees of Parliament until the said investigation is over. The investigations has been launched after MP Ali Sabri Rahim was fined for bringing a stock of gold jewellery and mobile phones without paying necessary duty. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news, Director General of Health Services Dr. Asila Gunawardena stressed that public Nipah virus has no effect in this country and should not cause unnecessary fear. Dr. Gunawardena made the remark while addressing a press conference held yesterday to brief the public on the Nipah virus. Dr. Gunawardena stated that the Nipah virus has been spreading fast in southern India after being detected in Kerala since the end of August this year. Stating that there are several opinions being shared in the media at present in this regard, he pointed out that the virus outbreak was also reported in Bangladesh in the past. Sri Lanka's largest book exhibition, Colombo International Book Fair, commenced today at the Bandaranayake Memorial International Conference Hall. The book fair organized by the Sri Lanka Book Publishers Association will be held until the 1st of October from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. In an era dominated by digital media, the allure of the printed word remains undiminished. The Colombo International Book Fair has emerged as a prominent event on the literary calendar, drawing attention from bibliophiles and those curious about the written word. The driving force behind the literary extravaganza is the Sri Lanka Publishers Association, an esteemed collective of publishers dedicated to promoting the written word. Various local and international publishing houses are collaborating with them, lending an air of global literary unity to the event. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story. International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva lauded Sri Lanka's economic development at a crucial meeting with President Ranil Wickremesinghe on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. During the meeting, Georgieva and Wickremesinghe dwelled into the ongoing financial sector reforms and the substantial progress made in debt restructuring initiatives. The IMF Managing Director commended the government for its successful actions in reducing inflation and fostering an environment that is favorable for business development as well as its flourishing tourism industry. And that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board announced that the water supply to several areas in Colombo will be disrupted for 12 hours from 6 a.m. tomorrow. The Water Board said the water supply will be disrupted from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow for residents of Colombo 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. The water cut has been attributed to maintenance work due to be carried out at the Ambatale Water Treatment Plant. And that came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
It's the power to live life your way. The power to be a trendsetter. Power to you with digital banking from Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank. Our interest is in you.
Moving on to the Bulletin of World News, first the headlines. Satellite images show increased activity at nuclear test sites in Russia, China and the US. Qatar sends medical aid rescue team to flood-stricken Libya. And Philippines issues health warning as capital hit by smog and volcanic gas. And now the world news in detail. Russia, the United States and China have all built new facilities and dug new tunnels at their nuclear test sites in recent years. Satellite images obtained exclusively by CNN shows at a time when tensions between the three major nuclear powers have risen to their highest in decades. While there is no evidence to suggest that Russia, the US or China is preparing for an imminent nuclear test, the images obtained and provided by a prominent analyst in military non-proliferation studies illustrate recent expansions at three nuclear test sites compared with just a few years ago. Qatar has sent 23 tons of aid and a search and rescue team to help the flood-stricken Libyan city of Derna. 2 aid flights arrived in Benghazi from Doha yesterday, along with a team from the Qatar Red Crescent, which stayed behind to help with search and recovery operations. The Qatar aid shipments, which include everything from tents to medicines, will soon make their way to Derna via alternative routes, as the main roads to the city remains cut off because of flood damage. A small but rusty volcano near the Philippine capital, Manila, spewed above average sulfur dioxide and volcanic smog today, prompting authorities to close schools in dozens of cities and towns and to urge people to stay indoors. The State Volcanology and Seismology Institute said it observed upwelling of hot volcanic fluids in the Taal volcano's caldera, resulting in the emissions of volcanic gases. Heavy pollution also shrouded buildings in the capital region in haze. Back to the headlines of the world news. Satellite images show increased activity at nuclear test sites in Russia, China and the US. Qatar sends medical aid rescue team to flood-stricken Libya. And Philippines issues health warning as capital hit by smog and volcanic gas. And that concludes World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
This message is for all the kids between the ages of 4 and 16 who love to draw. Commercial Bank's Arunalusittam is back once again. This time, the competition is also in kids currently living abroad. First, second and third place prizes will be awarded along with special merit and merit certificates. For more information, visit the Commercial Bank website. We have so many prizes to be won.
Development News
In development news, the contract for design, installation, testing and commissioning of the signalling system for Sri Lanka Railways from Mahu to Anuradhapura was signed between the Ministry of Transport and Highways of Sri Lanka and Ercon Limited yesterday. The agreement was signed in the presence of the Minister of Transport and Highways of Sri Lanka, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, and the High Commissioner of India in Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle. The Governor of the Eastern Province, Senthil Tondaman, State Minister of Highways of Sri Lanka, Siripala Gamlat, senior officials from the Sri Lanka Ministry of Transport and Highways, Sri Lankan Railways and Ercon Limited were also present during the signing event. The mentioned project is being executed under the Indian credit line of $318 million at a cost of $14.9 million. And that came to you in development news. Moving on to sports news, the Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup 2024 match schedule is announced by the ICC, and the tournament is set to take place in Sri Lanka from January 13 to February 4th. 16 teams will participate in the competition, and Sri Lanka will open the tournament with a clash against Zimbabwe on the 13th of January. And that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB I am, a plan for your dream.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
And in business news, Singer Sri Lanka PLC is pleased to announce the revamping of its Colombo Service Centre, reaffirming the brand's dedication to providing exceptional services to their valued customers. The new facility, located in Borella, aims to redefine the customer service experience for all patrons. Sharing his thoughts, Mahesh Vijayawardena, Chief Executive Officer, Singer Group of Companies, said the revamping of our Colombo Service Centre underscores Singer's unwavering dedication to delivering exceptional services to our customers. And that was business news.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB I am, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, Acting Minister of Finance Ranjit Simbalapitiya highlighted a notable improvement in economic performance, indicating a shift from a negative growth of 11.5% recorded in the second quarter of 2022 to a more modest negative growth of 3.1% for the same period in 2023. Particularly the agriculture, hospitality and food sectors emerged as key contributors to this positive trajectory. And that was economic news. The weather news is next.
Weather report.
And finally, on to the weather report. The meteorology department says several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the central, Uva and eastern provinces and in the Polonnaruwa district during the night. And that was the weather report. And now to conclude this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe addresses the UN General Assembly. The IMF chief expresses satisfaction over Sri Lanka's economic progress so far. The Minister of Agriculture warns licenses will be revoked if substandard pesticides are sold. India provides 4.9 billion rupees for the modernization of railway signalling system from Mahu to Anuradhapura. The Parliament resolution approves to suspend a Puttalam district member of Parliament from Parliament committees. A message on Nipah virus issued from Sri Lanka health authorities. Colombo International Book Fair kicks off at the BMICH. And in news overseas, satellite images show increased activity at nuclear test sites in Russia, China and the US. And finally in sports, the ICC announces the match schedule of Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup 2024. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And back to your Friday evening's hostess, Saudi Thavam, to keep you company till end of transmission. Over to you, Saudi.